be careful about who you let run your business. I just look at it as another beer joint, you know.
Willie Nelson has always been the picture of calm in country music, the bandana-wearing icon who seemed above industry drama. But beneath that peaceful smile exists a memory that never forgives. At 92, Willie's finally revealing the grudges he silently carried for years. Artists he cut from his life, collaborators whose calls went unanswered, legends he refused to share stages with again. These aren't petty squabbles, but deep wounds from betrayals that struck his core values. The names on his list will shock you, from industry legends who crossed uncrossable lines to former friends who committed the unforgivable. A handful of the most shocking feuds Willie kept hidden from the public eye for decades. You'll find out why Willie's peaceful image masked a man who never forgot a betrayal. What's most surprising isn't who made his blacklist, it's how well he hid these feuds. The man preaching peace actually has a steel trap memory for those who've wronged him. "I don't hold grudges," Willie once claimed with his signature smile. But insiders know better. They've seen his quiet method of removing people. No drama, just a silent door closing forever. Now in his final chapter, Willie's naming names and explaining why certain superstars vanished from his albums, why friends disappeared from tours, and why Nashville darlings never received his blessing. And the first name on his list? A patriotic powerhouse, whose flag-waving act pushed Willie past his breaking point. Number 1. Waylon Jennings and Johnny Cash. They were country music's original rebels. Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, and Johnny Cash. A brotherhood built on whiskey and songs that made Nashville executives nervous. Beneath their matching black clothes lay a friendship destined to unravel. It sparked in '72 on an Austin stage. The chemistry was electric, Willie's peculiar phrasing, Waylon's thunderous voice, and Johnny's Judgment Day baritone. After the show, they stayed up until dawn. "We're going to change everything," Waylon declared. A pact was born. For 5 golden years, they were inseparable, recording, touring, and defending each other against an industry that wanted to tame them. When Johnny got busted for pills, Willie and Waylon were first to call. When Waylon's addiction spiraled, they covered his shows without telling the press. Then, success drove them apart. The first crack appeared when Willie's red-headed stranger exploded. Willie started bringing Hollywood types around, Waylon told a friend, talking about movies instead of music. At a festival in '78, Willie arrived 3 hours late with an entourage. His new crowd blocked his old friends from reaching him. When Johnny tried to speak with him, Willie's manager stepped between them. "He's got an interview." Johnny never forgot that slight. The breaking point came at a Nashville benefit concert. Willie's name appeared above theirs on the poster. Larger, bolder, Waylon erupted backstage. "We came up together. Now you're acting like you invented country music." Willie just stared coldly and said, "Maybe I did." That night, they performed separately. The crowd noticed the chill, the avoided eye contact. Afterward, the calls stopped. The jam sessions ended. At award shows, they'd nod politely like distant acquaintances. Years later, Willie would only say, "Success gives you everything except what you had before, freedom." The tragedy? In their final years, each privately admitted missing what they'd built together, but pride kept them apart. 3 legends who changed music forever, unable to reclaim their brotherhood. But before we explore Willie's personal betrayals, let's meet the flag-waving star who pushed the peaceful outlaw to his breaking point. A man whose patriotic posturing became too much for even Willie's tolerant nature. Number 2. Kris Kristofferson. They were brothers of the road, Willie and Chris, 2 poets who changed country music forever with guitars and raw truth. For decades, they shared stages and late-night conversations that shaped a generation. Chris was the one person who understood the silence between the notes, Willie once confessed. Their bond seemed unbreakable. They'd weathered the industry's darkest days together, fighting Nashville's clean-cut expectations. But sometimes, the deepest cuts come from the closest hands. At a 2009 charity event, after Willie's standing ovation performance, Chris leaned against the wall backstage with a whiskey. When asked about Willie's political activism, Chris laughed sharply. "Willie? He's turned into more of a mascot than a musician these days." The room froze. A photographer captured Willie's smile, vanishing, his eyes hardening. "I saw something break between them," recalled a backup singer. Willie just nodded, set down his drink and walked out. No argument. Just gone. For a man built on forgiveness, this was different. This was betrayal from his closest ally. Willie cancelled their planned album without explanation. Festival appearances together became solo sets. Calls went unanswered. "I reached out maybe 50 times, Chris later admitted. "But there are some bells you can't unring." The wound cut deep because Chris had attacked Willie's authenticity, suggesting he'd become a caricature of himself. Years passed with only polite nods at industry events. Willie kept a newspaper clipping of the incident in his guitar case. A reminder that not all scars heal. "Some friendships end with a bang," Willie told his son. "The worst ones end with words you can never take back." But while this friendship crumbled under careless words, Willie's next feud was built on something far more deliberate, a calculated betrayal that would shake country music to its core. Number 3. Toby Keith. They seemed like natural allies on paper. Two country giants with strong opinions and even stronger fan bases. But behind Willie's peaceful smile and Toby Keith's flag-waving persona, a silent feud was brewing that would permanently divide them. It wasn't Toby's success that bothered Willie, it was what he represented and how loudly he proclaimed it. The breaking point came after an early 2000 benefit concert. Willie joined, believing it was about supporting veterans and healing division. But when Toby turned the event into what Willie later called a political rally disguised as music, something snapped in the peaceful outlaw. Backstage, Willie confronted him. "This isn't about right or left. It's about music bringing people together." Toby laughed it off. Willie didn't. From then on, he quietly avoided any event featuring Toby. No drama, just deliberate distance. In private, Willie called Toby's music a commercial wrapped in camouflage that cheapened real pain. What truly drove him away was the belief that patriotism belonged to just one perspective. Years later, Toby sent a peace offering through a mutual friend. Willie never responded. When asked if he'd ever work with Toby again, he simply said, "There's enough noise out there already. I don't need to add to it." But this rejection wasn't just about politics. The next name on Willie's list cut much deeper because it came from someone he once called brother. Number 4. Rascal Flatts. Willie watched country music evolve for decades, but nothing irked him more than Rascal Flatts' rise to fame. "That ain't country," he muttered backstage at the 2006 CMAs. "That's 3 guys who couldn't make it in a boy band." To Willie, they embodied everything killing country's soul, manufactured emotion and studio perfection. The breaking point came at a 2008 festival when Rascal Flatts performed with dancers and elaborate lighting after Willie's raw set. Willie packed up mid-show and left. "I don't need to watch the funeral of country music," he told his driver as they departed. What bothered Willie wasn't just their success, but how they represented a turning point in country music. Their perfectly styled hair and auto-tuned harmonies felt like a personal attack on everything he'd fought for. At a songwriters' circle in Nashville, Willie was asked about Rascal Flatts' slick pop country sound. He simply shook his head and said, "That's not country music." That's what happens when marketing people decide what country should sound like. The final straw came when a major country festival asked Willie to perform right before Rascal Flatts. He refused, telling organisers, "I don't warm up crowds for karaoke singers." What bothered Willie wasn't their success, but their sanitised version of country. When asked about collaborating, he shot back, "I sing with outlaws, not pretty boys reading lines off a teleprompter." When they invited him to their Vegas residency, Willie simply replied, "I don't do Vegas shows, I do country music." Years later, as their popularity waned, Willie was asked if he felt vindicated. He shrugged. "The real stuff always survives. The plastic just melts away." While Rascal Flatts represented everything Willie hated about modern country's sound, they weren't the only ones who earned his quiet contempt. A whole generation of stars would soon discover Willie's silent judgment. Number 5. The Stars. Willie deemed soulless. Willie despised smoke and mirrors in country music. For him, the genre was about raw truth, not manufactured personas that cheapened his beloved art form. Blake Shelton became the focus of Willie's quiet disdain after a 2012 awards show. Watching him in designer jeans, singing about rural life, Willie muttered, "That boy's never had dirt under his fingernails that wasn't put there by a stylist." The breaking point came when Blake appeared on The Voice while promoting himself as country's ambassador. Willie refused an invitation to appear as a mentor on Blake's team. "I don't need to help sell that version of country music," Willie told his manager. "That show turns music into a circus, and he's the ringmaster." When they crossed paths at a benefit concert, Willie was polite but distant. Blake later told a friend, "It was like meeting someone who'd already decided who you were." Taylor Swift's country-to-pop evolution particularly irked him. At a charity event, Willie refused a photo with her. "She's using the genre like a stepping stone," he said. Once Nashville served its purpose, she tossed it aside. His most cutting critique came at a 2015 Songwriters Circle. After Luke Bryan performed his party anthem, Willie sat stone-faced. He later remarked, "That ain't country music, that's a beer commercial with a backbeat." Garth Brooks, despite his massive success, also earned Willie's silent judgment. "Garth turned concerts into Vegas shows," Willie told his band. "All that flying over the audience, that's not music, that's distraction." Willie saw these artists as dangerous, corporate packaging of fake authenticity. "They're selling the costume without living the life," he told a friend after declining to work with Florida Georgia Line. What bothered him wasn't their success, but how they glamorized suffering, while real people still lived it. While these new stars earned Willie's disdain, his most painful broken relationship was with someone who'd walked alongside him from the beginning. A brotherhood that crumbled under the weight of fame. Number 6. Johnny Cash. While Willie's relationships with the outlaw country movement fractured gradually, his specific friendship with Johnny Cash deserves special attention. Their connection went deeper than music. They shared a vision for what country music could be. They shared more than music, a vision, a rebellion, and a brotherhood that seemed unbreakable. Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash, two titans who redefined country music. But beneath their iconic duets lay a fracture that deepened with time. It began subtly, missed calls, forgotten birthdays. The real wound came during the later Farm Aid concerts of the 1980s. Willie had poured his soul into organizing these events, calling every industry friend. Johnny had been a stalwart supporter, a guaranteed draw for struggling farmers nationwide. But as Johnny's health declined and his demons intensified, his reliability wavered. A last-minute cancellation at a crucial moment left Willie scrambling to fill the void where a legend should have stood. Willie never mentioned it publicly. He filled the slot, smiled for cameras, and pretended all was well. But insiders say something broke that day. "He felt betrayed," revealed a band member, "not because Johnny couldn't make it, but because he didn't call himself." Their next meeting at an awards show captured their embrace on camera, but missed the coldness in Willie's eyes. What appeared as brotherhood was actually a friendship's final chapter. When later asked about their relationship, Willie simply stated, "Some roads split, whether you want them to or not." The silence cut deeper considering their history. They defended each other against executives, shared stages when nobody would book them, and resisted industry attempts to polish their authenticity. "Johnny was the first person who told me I didn't need to change," Willie once said, before their falling out. As their fame grew, they drifted apart. Johnny's demons pulled one way, Willie's independence another. That broken promise became their point of no return. At Johnny's 2003 funeral, Willie performed a heartbreaking "On the Road Again," a final nod to their journey. Those closest to him say he mourned not just Johnny's death, but what they'd lost years before. As Willie's relationship with Johnny faded into history, he began to see his feuds not as personal vendettas, but as principled stands for the soul of country music itself. Principles over popularity. Willie built his legacy on authenticity, not popularity. At 92, he's finally revealing silent feuds that weren't random fallouts, but principled stands from a man who valued truth above all. 7 names, 7 boundaries drawn by one of music's most peaceful souls. From Toby Keith's patriotic posturing to Taylor Swift's genre hopping, Willie saw through an industry that puts image over substance. What makes these revelations powerful is his decades of silence. No public drama needed. He simply walked away from those betraying his musical vision. Willie never resented these artists' success. He distanced himself because they embodied what he fought against: commercialism disguised as art, politics as patriotism, and performance as passion. These weren't petty grudges, but principles that, unlike hit songs, never fade. As Willie enters his final chapter, he leaves more than music. He leaves a warning about authenticity in an industry built on fakery. When applause stops, only your truth remains. In the end, Willie's silent feuds reveal something profound, that sometimes the quietest statements speak the loudest truths. Willie's truth needed no special effects or political stunts, just 6 strings and something real to say. As we reflect on Willie's principled stands, we should ask ourselves, what values would we silently defend, even at the cost of friendship? Comment below, subscribe, and remember, sometimes walking away speaks loudest.